The boy just wanted a sip of yogurt from his father's bowl, but his father immediately took it away and warned him never to touch anything he had eaten. The boy was frightened, but what he didn't know was that his father was protecting him. His father had cancer and didn't want him eating from his dishes. After divorcing his wife, the father worked as a hard-working cleaner, just wanting to raise his son through his own efforts. When he learned he had only 3 months left to live, the one thing he couldn't stop worrying about was his son. Not knowing how to tell his son about this, he could only use his remaining time to find a good family to adopt him. Soon he found a wealthy couple with a luxurious estate. The couple seemed refined and gentle. They appeared to be suitable candidates, but John quickly discovered they already had a child. And from the man's tone, it was clear he would treat the 2 children differently in the future. John had no choice but to give up. On the way back, John tentatively asked his son on the overpass, "Do you like that family?" To his surprise, his son answered that he only liked his own home. Hearing this made John's heart ache even more. The orphanage director suggested he make a video message as a father, so when his son grew up, he could better understand and remember his father through the recording. But John didn't want to do it. He wanted his son to completely forget him. He didn't want him to know he was adopted, and even less did he want him to know that his birth mother had heartlessly abandoned him. And his birth father was just a cleaner without much ability. As John's health gradually deteriorated, he used a dead beetle to try to explain the meaning of death to his son. But the young boy couldn't understand at all. The next day, when John was cleaning with a crew, he was fired by his employer just for taking a brief rest due to feeling unwell. With only months left to live, John could only vent his frustration by throwing eggs. His son seemed to sense their impending separation and often cuddled sweetly in John's arms. John finally found a second family. They all had good personalities, but unfortunately, they had already adopted too many children. Although the couple assured John they wouldn't adopt any more children and would treat his son like their own, looking at his somewhat timid and introverted son, John still gave up. Soon, it was his birthday. His son specially put 34 candles on the cake, then handed him one more candle, wanting to promise they'd celebrate together again next year. His son's thoughtfulness and maturity made John deeply sad, because this would be his last birthday. The woman from the third family had given birth to a child when she was 16. Being too young, she had given the baby to someone else. Unexpectedly, she later became unable to conceive due to illness, and her husband left her because of it. Completely disillusioned with love, she planned to adopt a child to spend the rest of her life with. Seeing his son sitting beside the woman, playing relaxedly, John finally smiled. He could tell this woman would definitely treat his son well in the future. But his son suddenly asked the woman when she would die, instantly freezing the atmosphere. Suddenly, John wasn't so sure about entrusting his son to a single-parent family, but his health was getting worse and worse. John found another adoptive family with very good conditions. But the man wouldn't even let his son play with the train models, saying they were too expensive. Even more outrageous when leaving, he actually took back the doll he had given to the boy. John immediately ruled out this family. How could such a stingy family give his son the love he needed? As father and son walked home, the son suddenly said, "I don't want to be adopted." John's heart ached terribly. If it weren't for his terminal illness, he would never give his son to someone else for adoption. John's condition worsened rapidly. He had no energy for anything. Though young, his son seemed to sense his father was leaving him. So when his father bought new pajamas, he didn't want them at all, because he was afraid that once he put on the new pajamas, he would be sent to a new family. Watching his son constantly throwing out his beloved toys, John smiled helplessly. Early the next morning, John sold his car and went completely wild with his son for once. He had rarely played with his son because of work, but now he just felt there wasn't enough time. He wanted to visit every amusement park in the world with his son, to taste all kinds of delicious food. On one hand, John wanted his son to forget him in the future, but at the same time, he selfishly wanted to live forever in his memory. He spent the day with his son in this contradiction. That night, John didn't tell his son a bedtime story. Instead, he said a special goodbye. He told his son that Daddy was about to leave this world. There were many words his son couldn't understand, but he could feel the reluctance in his father's words. John still followed the director's advice. He carefully wrote 15 letters for his son to open on each future birthday, along with many photos of them playing together, looking at the candle his son had given him, how he wished he could watch his son grow up. These things that were normal for ordinary people were a luxury for him. His son seemed to sense something too, and couldn't sleep at all that night. Early the next morning, John took his son to the home they had chosen together. They chose this woman who planned to remain single for life, because she was the only one who might give all her love and energy to his son alone. The son stared blankly at the woman before him. He already understood what was going to happen, but this time he didn't cry or make a fuss. He just looked up at his beloved father. The son was very reluctant to leave his father, but perhaps this was the best choice his father could make for him. And the film story ends here. One click from you gives life to countless stories. Subscribe today, and let's grow this journey side by side. Thanks for watching. Love you all.